What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. I'm your host, Matt Johnson. Have an exciting show on tap for you guys today. I want to jump right into reports of a Chicago Bulls and Orlando Magic deal that fell apart just before Desmond Bane and that blockbuster deal came to fruition there between Orlando and Memphis. This deal sent power forward Jonathan Isaac to go along with point guard Cole Anthony, 2 first-round picks, and a first-round pick swap option to Chicago in return for point guard Kobe White there. Now, that is a monster deal to turn down if you're Chicago, and it makes you wonder, are they really set on holding on to Kobe White unless they get the perfect offer? I mean, that's a heck of an offer on the table there by Orlando, according to reports, and the fact that they turned that down. Obviously, Desmond Bane ultimately got shifted over to Orlando in recent weeks there, so that was a monster deal to go down. But, I mean, at 25 years old, Cole Anthony would have offered Chicago a solid young guard option with upside, and Jonathan Isaac at 27, though he recently was injured, he's a power forward with a lot of prime left there as well in his career, so very interesting to hear that Chicago turned that deal down, and it comes as no surprise. Orlando had a lot of interest in Kobe White. I profiled that moving into this Wednesday's upcoming draft. I thought that a deal could get done on draft night, and if Orlando had shot Chicago this deal and they turned it down that quickly, who knows what it would take to get a guy like Kobe White? It would probably have to be the perfect offer in Chicago's eyes. So a very interesting development there. Kind of keeping the attention on the upcoming draft here, I wanted to talk about the updated draft outlook when it comes to the Chicago Bulls and kind of what to expect here as we move into Wednesday. The Bulls own their first-round pick in the next 7 drafts, which is something they can't or haven't been able to say in recent years is holding that first-round pick. So it's exciting to have that on the horizon for years to come here. Portland, the Trailblazers also do owe the Bulls a top 14 protected pick over the neep 4 drafts. So that's something to look at as well. This pick does convert to a second rounder if not conveyed, so keep an eye on for that. If the Chicago Bulls do get that pick from Portland and it turns out to be sometime in the near future here, the Bulls also have a plethora of second-round picks that are available to trade. They're going to own 6 second-round picks over the next couple of drafts here, so keep an eye out for an opportunity to package some of those second-round picks and maybe a deal moving Nikola Vucevic, or if the Bulls have eyes set on a prospect in the top 7 or 8 picks here, they could move up from 12 and package a few of those second-round picks along with maybe their 12th overall selection there in the first. So very interesting there. I think having that many second-round picks is definitely an advantage in terms of being able to tie that to a trade of the future there. So very interesting to see what the Bulls do Wednesday night. I know there's a lot of intrigue on what they're going to kind of move their focus towards in a first-round selection, or if they, I hope, the table is still set for a guy like Ace Bailey to be selected, by Chicago in an eventual possible trade there. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, the monster trade going down yesterday, I want to take a look at that as well and what that means for Chicago. Kevin Durant is now a Houston Rocket. Now, what a blockbuster move. The first big domino finally falls in NBA free agency this summer. The Bulls, we're looking at a guy that he could have, spun his way to Chicago in a deal that possibly Vooch was involved in, and I looked at it, but Jalen Green. So ultimately, this deal sends Kevin Durant to Houston, and in return, Phoenix receives Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall selection in this Wednesday night's draft, along with 5 second-round picks, including the 59th overall selection this year, 2 in 2026, 2 second-rounders, 1 second-rounder in 2030 from Boston, and 1 in 2032. So a number of second-round picks in return there. They get a capable guard that they could plug in and play in Dylan Brooks. And Jalen Green was the guy that I was hoping that Chicago would have a chance at. Now, with the Kobe White development and them turning that deal down with Orlando, they probably are going to, look at a combination of contracts that they can put together for both Josh Giddey and Kobe White. At least it's looking like that moving forward here, which is interesting because I know the Bulls front office has spoken up to a priority of stockpiling assets moving into a future off seasons and putting together a lot of picks down the road and really bringing a youthful roster to the forefront there. So it's interesting. I'm not against it. I think Kobe White and Josh Giddey offer a lot of excitement. They showed flashes playing together a lot of times this past season, especially during that second half run that they went on. So very interesting. I just think it shows the Bulls not really having a desire to move Kobe White, even though they did have interest in Green. So I think, with Vucevic still being on the block here, I think it's a real possibility now that with Phoenix making this deal, and they wanted a center back in any deal done for Durant. They didn't get that. But with this 10th overall selection, keep an eye on Phoenix to move up possibly a few spots to grab a guy like Kaman Malawak there. Kaman Malawak is a very solidified one of the a center there, a top prospect in this upcoming draft, a freshman coming out of Duke. I talked about him previously, but this is a perennial powerhouse. This guy is going to be a unit in the NBA, so look for Phoenix to possibly make a move at that. I know as far as the teams picking in front of them, you have New Orleans picking at 7, Brooklyn picking at 8, and Toronto picking at 9. Now, Brooklyn and Toronto could very well make a play on Kaman Malawak, that is expected, but with these second-round picks in hand now, look for Phoenix to possibly spin this deal into moving up the board if they really want to make a play at Kaman there. So, very interesting development with that Kevin Durant trade. We could finally say Durant has a new home. That Houston team is going to be a heck of a unit, though. I mean, they got Amin Thompson, Kevin Durant, a lot of young talent there. Van Vliet coming off a very solid season. So it'll be a fun team to watch in the Western Conference. I think Durant fits in real well, and that's going to be something to watch there next season. Kind of jumping into a 3-team trade scenario, kind of spinning off the trade market there. I wanted to talk about a deal that I saw possibly, and this is a very realistic scenario for Chicago. Now that Phoenix is kind of off the table for Vooch, it seems, I think looking at this mock trade involving Milwaukee and Boston is something that makes a lot of sense. And getting into that deal here, we're 1 week away from the beginning of free agency. June 30th, free agency officially kicks off in the NBA. And in this mock trade, I have Milwaukee receiving Kristaps Porzingis from Boston and Lonzo Ball from Chicago. Boston would receive Nikola Vucevic, who I kind of looked at that possible scenario previously. I think he fits well in Boston, but Boston would get Vooch, Julian Phillips, a Milwaukee first-round pick in 2031. It is lottery protected. And then Chicago, now this is where I think it makes a ton of sense for the Bulls. And they would receive Kyle Kuzma, who I'll get to in a second on what they could do with that. But Kyle Kuzma, Sam Hauser, Pat Connaughton, a Wizards 2025 second-round pick, which would be a number 32 overall selection from Boston. They would get a Pistons 2025 second-round pick, which is the number 47th overall selection from Milwaukee, and one of 4 teams' 2026 second-round pick from Boston. So a lot of draft picks in return there. With the rumors of the Bulls wanting to trade up for Rutgers star Ace Bailey there in the draft, they could look at getting a guy like Kyle Kuzma and shipping him along with their first-round selection. So you would take the Bulls' first-round selection and pick number 12, couple that with Kyle Kuzma and those 3 newly acquired second-round picks to make a jump into the top 6 or 7. Now, I think that makes a ton of sense, and it's something that I have a lot of interest in the Bulls doing. I talked about them possibly moving up to 6 or 7. I know Washington is projected to select Ace Bailey, but if you can couple a move there in Kyle Kuzma and some second-rounders there for that, moving up the board with an opportunity to take a guy like Ace Bailey, it makes a ton of sense for Chicago. As far as the financial element to this, there's a financial edge to this deal for the Bulls as well. If they can find a way to get off of Kuzma heading into 2026 free agency, which if he does get moved prior to this Wednesday's draft in that mock trade here, that would allow them to do that, and it would give them a lot more flexibility in keeping both Josh Giddey and Kobe White and signing them to deals estimated about $25 million each. So if you can lock Giddey and Kobe White up for $25 million each, I think that offers, that would give the Bulls an estimated $65.9 million in cap space, which you add to a repertoire of things you can do moving into future off seasons. I think there's a lot of intrigue in that type of deal getting done. Not only do you get a shot to land a perennial young player in Ace Bailey, but you kind of set yourself up for some good years down the road here. So I think the Bulls should visit that. I think, as far as Sam Hauser and Pat Connaughton go, those are kind of just sweeteners in the deal. You get some veterans there, but those draft picks, it's all about what you could acquire and then look to move if you have a name in mind. So a very exciting scenario there for Chicago. I think it makes a ton of sense, especially after the news of a Kobe White denial of a trade to Orlando came out there. It's clear that the Bulls are looking to build around him to go along with Josh Giddey. So I think it's something to watch there. It's going to be a lot of fun to see that develop over the next couple of days. But, I've expressed a lot of interest in Ace Bailey and taking a shot at him in the upper echelon of the first round there. This would offer an opportunity to do that. So a very fun scenario if you're Chicago, an exciting one if you're a Bulls fan. So we'll keep an eye on that. And lastly, I just wanted to congratulate the Oklahoma City Thunder, the 2025 NBA champions. What a year for that team. It's a shame to see a guy like Tyrese Halliburton go down with that Achilles injury. It's becoming too much of a thing, and it's a shame to see these calf injuries with guys like Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard and now Tyrese Halliburton turn into these Achilles injuries and lead to such a devastation for these guys. So it's a real shame, but congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder on their part there. They're the second youngest NBA champion in the shot clock era, and that's since 1955, so a heck of a feat there. They were 19-2 following a loss, including this postseason. That's the best record in a season for that in NBA history. This playoffs alone, they were 7-0 coming off a loss, so, that's just domination in every way there. They outscored their opponents by 1,247 points. That just, that number speaks for itself there, including the postseason. That's the best point differential in a season in NBA history. So just complete and utter domination by Oklahoma City. What a fun team to watch there. And honestly, if you're a team like the Chicago Bulls, looking what they have put together and how they've done it and what they still have in terms of future assets is a blueprint to follow. And clearly it's a successful one there. So in regards to SGA, what a season, league MVP. He is the first player to win an MVP and a title in the same season since Steph Curry did it back in 2014-15. What a run there. He puts himself in that category with a Hall of Famer, the likes of Steph Curry. So a lot of promise for this Thunder team moving forward. I think they're just getting started, quite frankly. And SGA, another awesome nugget for him. He scored 3,172 points this season, including the postseason. That's the most in a season since Michael Jordan did it back in 92-93. So putting himself in a category with the GOAT there, with Michael Jordan, that's something that can be looked at as a very special moment for a guy in SGA who completed every single category of success this year, both in the awards and the NBA championship now coming home to Oklahoma City. So I want to congratulate them again on an awesome season. With the draft coming up on Wednesday and free agency set to kick off here in just a week, we have a lot of exciting stuff to look forward to. The Summer League is on tap here starting the 10th of July. So I'm excited to see what the Chicago Bulls do, and hopefully they could build their way to something like Oklahoma City has built here moving forward, and that would be awesome for the city of Chicago. I'm certainly hoping that comes to more of a realistic chance there for Chicago in that. So Excited to see what the Bulls are going to do here in the next coming days and weeks. I want to thank you guys for joining me on today's show. And as always, let me know what you want to see the Bulls do. Do you like that they turned down that deal from Orlando? Those rumors stating that, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. Do you think that was a smart decision by Chicago? Do you want to see them hang on to both Giddey and Kobe White? I know a lot of you have expressed wanting to move on from a lot of these guys here, including Kobe White and Vooch. So it'll be interesting to see how much they garnish his value there moving forward. So as always, thanks for joining me on today's episode. We will see you for tomorrow's show. Thanks.